Good afternoon. I'm John Kiersey, Vice President Emeritus, and I'm delighted, beyond delighted, to read this citation honoring an individual who has had a profound influence on higher education in Canada and the trajectory of this great institution. A visionary leader, a cherished friend, whose wisdom, generosity, and compassion have touched all who have had the pleasure of working and collaborating with him: students, staff, volunteers, and community partners. The highest distinction the Senate of a university can confer upon an individual is an honorary doctorate. At the University of Manitoba, the criteria include distinguished achievement in scholarship, the arts, or public service. Our honorary graduate this afternoon is President Emeritus Dr. David Barnard. As the 11th President and Vice-Chancellor of the University of Manitoba, David led with a bold vision that left an indelible mark on this university and on the wider community. His leadership advanced reconciliation, seized opportunities to support academic and research excellence, and called on the entire University of Manitoba and its broader community to take its place in sharing the stories of trailblazers, explorers, innovators, that bison herd that we just heard about, who continue to have powerful impact around the world. And to support the people who are making this happen, Dr. Barnard called on generous people who were keen, certainly after they spoke with him, to make a difference through an ambitious and record-breaking philanthropic campaign. One of David's most defining contributions, and perhaps the closest to his heart, is his unwavering commitment to advancing reconciliation. David had the courage to acknowledge the university's role in the residential school system, and in a powerful and emotional moment in Halifax, Nova Scotia, David led the University of Manitoba to be the first university in Canada to issue a formal apology for its past. This act was far more than symbolic. It was the beginning of a new chapter in the university's relationship with Indigenous communities. It was a chapter defined by listening, action, healing, partnership. David's continued efforts led the university to become the host of the National Center for Truth and Reconciliation, providing the university with opportunities for learning, dialogue, and leadership in amplifying and embodying Indigenous voices and perspectives and histories. His dedication was further demonstrated by the creation of the Vice President Indigenous role, the first of its kind in Canada, ensuring that Indigenous excellence, engagement, and inclusivity are part of the very fabric of this institution's identity. And that came through loud and clear when we created a new logo introduced to reflect Indigenous voices. It is David's belief that true leadership is about creating space for others to lead and succeed. In recognition of his dedication to reconciliation, the late Elder David Corshane bestowed on David the name Standing White Bear. David ensured a continued focus on research excellence. During his tenure, the university's research funding grew by an impressive 50%, a testimony to his dedication to advancing knowledge and fostering innovation. It was under David's guidance that the University of Manitoba joined the prestigious U15 group, securing its place among Canada's top research-intensive universities. He believes deeply in the power of research to change lives, and he empowered faculty and staff across disciplines to collaborate and break new ground. This vision came to life in many ways, but for the purpose of our gathering this afternoon, I highlight the James W. Burns Leadership Institute, which includes the President's Student Leadership Institute, or program, an initiative that brings together students not only from disciplines within the University of Manitoba, but from universities across Manitoba, fostering the next generation of leaders who will shape our future. David had the ability, and still has the ability, to dream big and help others dream big as well. One shining example of this was his unwavering support for our colleague, Dr. Dig Vergias' vision of creating the Churchill Marine Observatory, a facility dedicated to advancing research in the North. Thanks to David's leadership and belief in this vision, the University of Manitoba continues playing a pivotal role in research that is critical to understanding, amongst other things, the effects of climate change in the Arctic. David never steered clear of hard and difficult work. His passion for education and research excellence is also evident in the innovative changes he led. The Academic Structure Initiative, which David launched along with Provost Emeritus Joanne Kesselman, led to the creation of the Rady Faculty of Health Sciences, uniting faculties in an unprecedented restructuring effort where the benefits of collaboration were immediately obvious for students and staff alike. Dr. Kesselman once remarked that David's leadership wasn't just about vision, it was about the genuine care that he had for people around him, from students to staff to the broader community. David is a leader who understood that building a great university means investing in the people who advance its success. The Front and Center campaign was a hallmark of his time as president, raising more than $626 million, a record in Manitoba's history. Individuals, families, corporations, foundations, students, and staff took their place, making some of the largest gifts they had ever made to any charitable organization in their lifetime. But David did not measure the success of the campaign by the size of the numbers. He measured it by the opportunities it created: scholarships for students, research funding, and new spaces where ideas could flourish. In fact, rather than a general fundraising priority for student financial support, David insisted that we use this opportunity to shine a light on the importance of graduate students in all aspects of our society: government, business, academia, research, helping donors and potential donors understand the chronic underfunding for graduate students in our province and encouraging philanthropic investment. Chancellor Emeritus and Honorary Campaign Chair Harvey Sector said of David, he led with both intellect and heart and always had a profound sense of responsibility to the university and its mission. David's vision extended to the development of our campus as a vibrant community hub. He picked up the baton from Dr. Emeritus Satmary, President Emeritus, and laid the groundwork for Southwood Circle, a community project that will benefit generations to come. He championed the creation of the Desautel Concert Hall, which just opened last month, a long-awaited dream for our performers and performing community. And the Active Living Center was a dream come true, and it was David who gave the green light to welcome the Winnipeg Bombers to the University of Manitoba with an impressive new stadium. David's legacy reaches far beyond the walls of the University of Manitoba. He is a Fellow of the Royal Society of Canada and a recipient of the Order of Manitoba, and he has served on numerous private and public boards, including Universities Canada, which he chaired, and the Royal Society of Canada, helping to shape the future of higher education in this country. Carrie Macquarie Smith, another close colleague, perfectly summarized his time as president in the following way: David was fueled by his genuine curiosity and excitement about the work University of Manitoba's scholars were pursuing, his enduring respect for the academic mission, and found our students' ideas and accomplishment an unending source of joy. I am grateful for the trust and support David placed in me during our years of working together, 14 of them, in fact. His belief in me and in all of us who were part of his team gave us the confidence to pursue bold ideas and make meaningful change. His quiet strength, his care for others, and his unwavering commitment to do what is right have left a legacy we are all proud to carry forward wherever we go. David Barnard is a scholar, a leader, a staunch ally, and advocate for transformative power of higher education, and he is an outstanding human being. He consistently promoted the obligation of the president to leave the university in a better position than when he first came. And it is my strong belief, and I know many, many of my colleagues join me in this sentiment, that he more than fulfilled this obligation. And along the way, many of us realized that the best way to appreciate a piece of poetry is through David's lens and voice, that same voice that guided this institution for 12 incredible years. Madam Chancellor, it is an honor for me to ask, on behalf of the Senate of the University of Manitoba, that you confer on Dr. David Barnard the degree of Doctor of Laws, honoris causa, in recognition of his enduring contributions to this university and to our broader community and to higher education in Canada. Thank you.
By virtue of the authority vested in me as Chancellor of this university, I admit you to the degree of Doctor of Laws, honoris causa, with all the rights and privileges thereto appertaining.
Madam Chancellor, Mr. President, colleagues, guests, and in particular, graduating students. It is an honor to be given this degree by the University of Manitoba, and I am very grateful to be receiving it. While only one person is named in the citation for this recognition, as the poet John Donne wisely said, no man or no person is an island entire of itself. The accomplishments described in these very generous words read to us were made by teams of people, including chancellors, board chairs, board members, faculty, staff, students, and especially the colleagues in my office. Those teams were sometimes led by me, but more often by members of my executive team, and sometimes by colleagues in other parts of the university with the necessary skills, time, and energy. While not primarily the one who did things, I tried to be a stimulus, a catalyst, and a connector who could listen, learn, help others be aware of what perhaps could be done, hear what they thought should be done, and then watch in awe as my team colleagues did bigger and better things than we had discussed. It was nudging here and there on my part, and quite a bit of running to keep up with the team members, figuratively speaking. I had a wonderful team of colleagues. Further, they were good editors and critics, sometimes even eager to point out why some of my ideas would not achieve my expectations. And of course, they were most often right. And fortunately, I most often listened to them, and at least that's how I recall it. My shorthand description of our relationship was this: find appropriately talented people, establish shared priorities, find the resources they need, get yourself and other obstacles out of the way. In practice, this must be nuanced for fit. That is, can we with very different personalities work effectively together? Nonetheless, I still stand by the general sense of the requirements. Much more should be said about my excellent team of colleagues. I work with many important, wonderful, passionate, and exceptionally skilled people at the University of Manitoba. I'm trying to convey what this experience was like for me in the belief that analogous working relationships could happen for those of you about to graduate today in your chosen fields. I'm going to read you a poem. My team colleagues may be expecting this because I love poetry and have frequently used the good work of poets to bring energy to my remarks. I used this poem many times when welcoming groups of new faculty and staff to the campus. The title of the poem is Largesse. It was written by a poet whose work I read and learned to appreciate. I eventually invited him to come to the University of Manitoba on a visit, and we have become good friends. He's the Irish poet Micheál O'Shiel, now living in the United States. He has also received an honorary degree from this university. In the last couplet of the poem that I will read to you, Janus is a Roman god with two faces. Our month January is named for him. He's often depicted as looking out of both sides of his face at the same time, so that he can see what has happened and what was still to be accomplished. The last line of the poem is in italic font, indicative of a different voice, perhaps an inner voice of the speaker. I encourage you to let the words of the poet remind you of your life and those in it who were generous to you. Largesse. The generous sink into traces they leave in us, in tiers of personality, gestures, words we use, flashbacks to small confirmations, that hand lean on a shoulder. The generous are still aglow within. Confident, they knew nothing diminished their glory as they nourished seeds to flower for a while in me. The jealous I begin to forget, frightened spirits nipping the bud of younger and younger threats. The turning point, and I face both ways like Janus. Recall how terribly you needed praise, then choose. This poem, compellingly, at least for me, makes it clear that each of us has the responsibility to be generous and to do what we can to support and encourage those around us. The poet used 5 stanzas of 2 lines each, 3 couplets to describe the generous, only 1 couplet to describe the jealous, because they're just fading away, and 1 couplet to frame his challenge to us, his readers. His challenge, recall how terribly you needed praise, then choose, certainly aligns with my experience with many people over many years. Appropriate praise shows deep respect. In the busyness of our lives, it would be regrettable if we did not push ourselves to do what the poet suggests. Knowing how much we're bound together in our endeavors and focusing on that interdependence leads us to recognize how our families, colleagues, and friends help to shape us. I've had wonderful colleagues and friends here at the University of Manitoba. My wish for those of you who are graduating is that as you leave the university to shape your lives and careers, you can find good people with whom to work, good work to do, and stimulating challenges that bring you as much pleasure and fulfillment as I have found with wonderful colleagues, students, and community members here at the University of Manitoba. I stress again that it is an honor to be given this degree by the university, and I certainly gratefully receive it.